Hello, everybody, and welcome to our final webinar in this amazing series, Understanding the Why Behind Our pH 360 Foods. This has been created to help you guys really understand the science and the depth behind all the information and insight that comes out your way. And we really hope that you're enjoying the amazing depth that is behind pH 360, the science and medicine, and the knowledge that your health is in extremely good hands. Now, hopefully by now you're all familiar with our pH 360 mission, our passion, our purpose. We are on a very, very big mission to actually change world health, and we need your help. We are able to provide the most amazing personal insights about your health to help you change your life and completely change and be able to be in control of your future. And we're really so excited about the amazing testimonials, the amazing changes and transformations that have been happening in so many lives. Please keep them coming. We'd love to hear from you, and we really appreciate you sharing this with your friends and family and loved ones so that we can actually help our mission, because there's no way we can achieve this without you. On that note, we've actually had such a huge demand from all of you, which has been fantastic, about how you can actually help engage your friends and family. Is there specific bundles? Is there discounts? All these sorts of questions that we've had. And we've actually put together a very, very special offer, which is an immediate family and friends or loved ones lifetime offer. And this is phenomenal. And this is really us rewarding you for taking action about your own health, and then offering, giving you guys a chance to offer the same lifetime access to your close friends and family, so that they can actually achieve the same benefits and health that you are, for only $97. And this is promotion that we're putting out there for everybody for only, I think we've got 3 or 4 days left. May 9th is when this runs out. And so we'd love for you guys to take this on. And the reason for this is literally due to the overwhelming requests that we've had from all of you for family and discounts and bundles. And you guys are getting an insight here today. The fact is our prices are actually going up on May 10th, and this is to help us be able to continue to fund the development of pH 360. It's a huge project, as you can imagine. It's taken us over 10 years to get to this point in time, and this is just a really big thank you to you. And we want to make it affordable and accessible for everyone. And so here it is. So if you're wanting to take care of your health, the family, immediate friends that need this the most, now is most likely the best time ever that you'll be able to capitalize on something like this. So please act now. There'll be a link that pops up. Please go ahead and click on that so you can take action. $97 for a lifetime membership for your friends and family. And I just want to give you a little bit of a sneak peek. The sneak peek that we've actually got is why this is such an amazing offer for a lifetime membership. And I just want to show you a couple of little things that are coming. We have had so much demand. In fact, this is our fourth webinar out of one webinar that we're talking about the why and understanding the reasons behind the foods and the science and medicine behind why your insights shop for your foods. Coming here, you'll see on the screen that there's actually a section where the information comes out. We've got an example here of potatoes with the information that's displayed, and you'll see this is going to be split into 2 sections. On the right-hand side, it's actually going to list the reasons right next to it on your screen as to why these foods shop for you. So that's a feature that's actually coming very, very soon. We hope you're going to be very, very excited about that, and that's going to answer a lot of the questions that have been coming in. So we've worked really, really hard to make that happen. It's been a huge project, and it's not far off completion. So we hope you're as excited about that as we are. This page here, you're seeing now a very, very big sneak peek into the food section, and this is a new design that is going to be launched very, very soon. You'll notice on here that on the right-hand side is a foods list. On the right-hand side there where the foods list is, that's what will actually take you through to what you currently see today. But you can also see in this section here, we've got recipes, we've got meal planners, we even have shopping lists. We talk about eating out, cooking lessons 101, and even home delivery. So some amazing, exciting features that are coming just around the corner. All these things are going to be such huge additions to pH 360 and the power behind pH 360 just for you. So again, to be able to take advantage of this lifetime offer for $97, next week, it's actually going to $197 per year. So please take advantage for your family, friends, and loved ones if you're listening in and you want to make sure that you can help spread the word about health and the fact that you can actually have the power to control your own health future. So this is just a little bit of insight I want to share with you today. Very, very exciting stuff. This is just a quick screenshot of how this is actually going to look on the app that's going to be coming out soon too. Very, very powerful. You'll see that you'll have meal plans that are listed out. It'll be having interaction as to what pops up for you for food lists coming through on specific foods with tabs with descriptions of the foods, the nutrition and facts behind the foods, and also the reasoning why those foods are showing for you at this particular point in time. And remembering that things change for you all the time, and so those things will change. So just a quick insight there, the most powerful personal health system that exists at this current day and age. And we're so excited to be sharing it with you. So just wanted to say, please take advantage of that. The personal health and healing retreats come up. I'm so excited to be meeting those that have signed up. So if you're listening on the call, thank you. It's going to be just amazing to be able to spend a full 7 nights with you. So really looking forward to meeting you and transforming lives. This is just unbelievable. So thank you so much for that. And if anyone else has any more questions about that, then support@ph360.me is the best place to find that out. We've just run an amazing course last weekend in the US with a bunch of health professionals and health coaches on the ins and outs, PH360 and what's behind PH360. So if you're still looking for even more insight into the powerful concepts behind PH360, then we're actually making that available for you guys via an uncut HD recording of the weekend. So if you're interested, again, you see some pop-ups that come past. Go ahead and click on the link that will actually take you to the page where you can purchase a copy of that. The course is $697. The replays and the uncut HD footage is yours for $97 if you're wanting to know a lot more about what's behind PH360. Okay, so enough of the intro. Thanks for sharing is this slide that you're seeing right now. And on that note, I just want to just say a massive thanks for all of you for making the time to be here, for your commitment to your own health, your own journeys. We'd love for you to be sharing your results and helping others make a change for health in their own lives. We'd always love to hear from you. You can do this through testimonials that are coming through on the Facebook page, especially those that are sending through little videos. We'd love to hear, a 60-second video of you on your iPhone that you can email through, maybe even some before and after pics if you're excited about losing weight, just so we can help share with others what to expect with PH360, because it's not a system, it's not a supplement, it's not this new crazy fad. It's actually just information. It's just providing you the understanding of what's right for you right now. Sharing PH360 with your affiliates or your clients, using PH360 in your clinics if you're a health professional, volunteering at PH360 events, social media if you're interested in writing about your experience. We have a blog that we'd love to be featuring some guest bloggers on from time to time. So please, again, email support@ph360.me if you're interested, and really suggesting PH360 to health professionals or medical professionals if you're believing that maybe something that will be useful for them to incorporate into their management. So without any further ado, I'm going to jump into our final webinar that we have, the 4 from 4 that was originally expected to be 1. We have Daniella Remy joining us again, who's our VP of Research. Daniella is a trained educator with a Master of Science in Human Development. She's specializing in the research methods and statistical analysis behind PH360. She really she's been working with the brains behind the science of PH360 and medicine of PH360 since, for 10 years now, since inception. And she really is just the absolute guru and genius behind interpreting what the medical team creates and bringing that into life for you. Speaking 4 languages in French, German, English, Italian. She knows what's going on in all different parts of the world. Daniella, welcome so much. Thanks for joining us again to this final series or final webinar in a series of PH360 and understanding all about our foods.
Hi, Matt. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, thanks again, Daniella. And we've got so many questions. We've had like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of questions, maybe even in the thousands, I'm not sure. But there's just been so many questions that have come through, and people are really appreciating all the insights that we're able to provide here. So I'd love to jump straight into all the questions that we've got lined up for today. And
hopefully not 1,000.
Hopefully not 1,000. Well, it depends how fast you talk. Both of us do talk fairly fast. We've had that feedback as well.
We do.
So lucky there's a replay available for those that need that. And we will jump straight in. And we really want to make this as action-packed as we can with information for you guys. And hopefully you're listening in live or listening to a replay and can get all your questions answered here. And for those listening in, there's just so much valuable information you can gain from listening into other people's questions that we go with the concepts that you'll learn. So straight off the bat, thank you. The first question that we have here, which actually comes from Sequoia Abadiga. And Sequoia asked us about candida. She's asked a great question and says, if I have candida, would I still be including dried fruit in my PH360 list? Danielle, would you just be able to give us a quick insight as to candida and how that may look with dried fruits particularly?
Yeah. Generally, when it comes to candida, you would want to eliminate sugars in general. So we are talking about the white refined sugar and even things like honey and maple syrup and agave, all the different kinds of sugar. Of course, that involves is high in fructose, which is a very natural form of sugar, but the bacteria, which is essentially what candida is made from, so it's bacterial fungal infection, it feeds off this sugar. So that is one of the things that you would want to reduce if that is the case. And PH360 would probably recommend smaller portions of dried fruit and fruit in general if you were to have it, because you do have to consider that there are some very important nutritional properties that might be very important for you, especially if you have other conditions that are more important than candida, such as cardiovascular disease or diabetes or something that really needs to be taken care of first. We might consider the pros and cons and still give you certain fruits anyway, especially if they're going to be very beneficial. So I wouldn't be too worried about what's there on the list, and just kind of go along with it, because there's a method to the madness, so to speak. There is a purpose for everything. Now, we should have a question of urogenital fungal infections, which would be candida. If it's not there, it needs to be added. I'm not sure where we are on that point, but that would definitely make those dietary adjustments for you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Daniella. And that's a fantastic question, Sakura. And obviously there's a lot of people with health concerns that may have candida be flagged by their medical practitioner as something that is a concern that needs to be addressed. As you discussed there, Daniella, there is questions in the assessment that you do initially that will actually go through and give us an understanding about where you sit for your current health situation, and things will be considered in your profile. Just wanted to make note, there's a lot of people that do go on candida cleanses for no other purpose than the fact that they have symptoms, and other people have said, hey, why don't you do a cleanse? There's a lot of that out there. It's similar to the gluten and the dairy debate at the moment. Everyone just tries it because maybe it's good for them, maybe it's not. That's the whole idea of PH360, is to help people understand what's right for them. And we all do. It's probably worth pointing out that we all do have candida as a natural part of our bodies. It's healthy. Everybody has candida. It's just more if it starts to become a big imbalance or an overgrowth of candida that becomes the issue. So thank you, Daniella, for that from Sequoia. We actually got a second question here from Sequoia that I'll go ahead and ask, and this is, some programs recommend that you avoid certain foods for arthritis. Will I still include those foods that were recommended in PH360 if I have arthritis in my hands? Is her question. Danielle, would you be able to give us some insights there, please?
Yeah, absolutely. In the questionnaire, we do talk about autoimmune diseases. So if you do have arthritis, it's a form of autoimmune disease, that should be selected. And then the diet would actually address solanaceous and nightshade type of vegetables. It would reduce some of the pro-inflammatory foods and probably give you certain things like fermented foods and cherries and turmeric that would be very good for you. So depending on how you answer that questionnaire, you will end up getting adjustments.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Daniela. So we're going to jump to Diane Kagiyama here. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your names incorrectly, people. We're going to get through as many as we can. Okay, so the question here from Diane is, if I said we follow a certain diet in the questionnaire, do you still list all foods that may be good for me, even if they're not in line with my current diet?
Well, absolutely. Regardless of what kind of diet you will select, PH360 is definitely looking at all the minerals, vitamins, nutritional components of every single food, pro and con, and putting all of that together. However, we will respect people's choices. So if you have a philosophical or health-based choice to include or avoid certain foods, we will respect that. If you are vegetarian or vegan, for example, and you prefer to avoid animal products, then we will respect that and try to find alternatives, because that is part of your lifestyle. Same thing if you are pescarian and you prefer fish over meat or poultry, that's absolutely fine. We will try to make sure that you get all the vitamins and minerals and everything that you need in other sources. So yes, we respect absolutely personal choices and philosophies, but we will make sure that you get what you need. Absolutely.
Thanks for clarifying that, Daniela, and great question, Diane. And I think we mentioned this on a previous webinar about the fact that if you are vegetarian and your body does actually need animal proteins, then we won't be negligent. We'll actually suggest that you consider those sorts of foods, and it's a choice that you need to make if you're doing it for ethical reasons, and if there's other things you may consider. And of course, if you're changing your diet or lifestyle significantly, we always encourage you to be in touch with your medical professional so that things can be monitored properly. But we certainly consider your personal choice, and we certainly encourage you as well if your choices may be a little bit different to what's the best for your health. So we'll certainly broach that in the best possible way. So thank you, Dan.
In fact, there have actually been cases where people have been vegetarians and given protein, especially if it's going to lead to a prolapse or collagen deficiencies and things. So thank you very much, Matt, for mentioning that. That is the case.
Absolutely, no problems. And we want to make sure that you get what you need. That's the key. And sometimes it's different to what we want, or sometimes it's different to what we think, or what we read, or what we've learned. But the most important thing here is we're having a conversation about your health and improving your health for the better. And so we will certainly make sure you get what you need in that case. So thank you again, Diane. Okay, jumping to Teresa Hill. We've got a great question from Teresa. My pH readings have been very acidic for 1 year. Prior to pH 60, I was not eating grains and meats that are acidic. My food guide suggests more carbs, white meat and white fish for me. Any suggestions to get pH down to optimum alkaline level? Fantastic.
Yeah, actually, there's a few things that you can do without looking specifically into your profile. I'm not sure about as an individual, but in general, vegetables can be quite alkaline and reduce acidity. So can alkaline water. It's also a very good possibility. Depending on what you have in your food list, there are certain foods such as lemon juice and cayenne. Those can also be alkaline. Fresh squeezed lemon juice with some ginger, cayenne, and a little dab of honey is also a very good digestive aid. If you've ever tried that as a warm tea, it's very good. So that will, there's a few options that you can do. It's not a problem. If you do have questions about your specific profile, we can probably look into that with customer support and see what you can do. But remember, not everybody needs to be alkaline. Not everybody needs to be acidic. There are certain balances that we have. All of those are considered in pH 360.
Excellent. Thank you, Daniela. And I think there's a lot of questions that I'd love to see if we get time to later log into a few people's profiles that can maybe even answer that a bit more specifically as well, because you're right that acidity and alkalinity is such a hot topic as everything in food is. We often talk about food being the new religion, that everybody's got an opinion, everybody's got a thought on it. And what we're really trying to do with pH 360 is break through all that and say, hey, there's a lot of confusion, but why don't you just find out what's right for your body right now? Everything out there is great, but it depends on which person and who you are at the time, both internally and externally, as to what's right for you. And so the question about that is great, and often there's a lot more press towards alkaline diets. So it's important to understand that's not the case for everybody, and we'll certainly see if we can get into a little bit more of that in detail as we go. So thank you very much for the question there, Teresa. Fantastic question. We've got a question from Siri Kasakabi. Siri asks, when I took the questionnaire after buying the program, I did a lot of guessing on many of the questions. May I redo the questionnaire?
Absolutely. The questionnaire can be done many times over. In fact, it is encouraged to be updating that questionnaire whenever there are changes in your lifestyle, if there's changes in your diet, if there's certain conditions that need to be considered because you've gotten a new diagnosis from a doctor or a diagnosis is no longer there. The questionnaire is really a reflection of your state right now, and it should be as accurate as possible. We also have some great hangouts with Jules and webinars and things to make sure that you can answer as well as possible. So try to get as accurate of an answer as you can. Go ahead and redo it, review the things as you need them.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, so please, as much as you can, and Hangouts with Jules is a fantastic place to learn so much more about the ins and outs of the profile and ins and outs of using pH 360 with your life. So moving along, we've got Nancy Slagle here, who asks another great question here. Why isn't there something on stress reduction, since that is so vital to health?
Interesting, because we do have stuff on stress reduction. Some people might actually have yoga or breathing exercises or Pilates or other things that might be physical as a benefit for the individual. We talk about spaces and locations, some of the ones that would be optimal for the person to say this is where you would be able to let your mind flow and reduce stress in your environment, or some things you might want to avoid because they're stress promoting. We even have social context to include and avoid in that same way, as well as if you have something like anxiety or sleep disorders or restlessness or other signs of stress, we might reduce stimulants and include more common foods in the diet. So there's actually a lot of ways that pH 360 addresses stress management.
Excellent. And just another, to expand on that a little bit, sometimes there's so much information in pH 360, it's sometimes even hard to know all the information that's built in. And you're right that the stress is actually built into all the different answers that you have, including the foods that will reduce stress naturally. But sometimes if we don't see an obvious button that says stress, we don't think it's there. So just a little insight, we've dabbled a few sneak peeks into what's coming. In the near future, there will actually be a more obvious area that we're expanding into. So keep an eye out for some more exciting updates in that area too. So great question. Thank you, Nancy. Okay, jumping over to James Hesser. James asks, does it mean I should follow a low salt diet if pink Himalayan salt has 2 smileys? There is no mention of regular salt. Daniella, would you be able to give us some insight there?
Yeah, absolutely. We have several different types of salt in the dietary recommendations. Regular salt is kind of, well, we specify the kind, iodized, non-iodized, table, and pink Himalayan, and all those other kinds. But if there is no specific mention of a low salt diet in the food guide, then it's not necessarily a low salt diet. So if you consider that you'd probably be using just a pinch of salt here and there, we're kind of telling you which one you should go for more than others. And it's not necessarily a food item that you would have to grab for very often. So it's probably not going to be very high necessarily, unless that is something that you need. But unless there's a specific mention of a low salt diet need to be had, it's not necessarily a low salt diet.
All right, excellent. Thanks for clarifying that there, Daniella. We've got another question here from Pam Lobb. Okay, so another great question here. Pam asks, I'm intolerant to deadly nightshades and citrus, but I can now eat them in small portions. I'm concerned they may be having an unseen inflammatory effect. Does following foods in pH 60 mean I don't have to be concerned about this?
Actually, when it comes to nightshades, I wouldn't actually use the word deadly nightshades, because all foods are good and bad in various conditions and quantities, and it's not really deadly. So let's remove that word because they have great properties. But nonetheless, nightshades must be avoided in some inflammatory or autoimmune conditions. If pH 360 has noticed that there is a present or future risk of such conditions, then it would justify either the reduction or complete removal of these nutritious vegetables. If they are included in the diet in the appropriate portions, then maybe it's something that you actually need. So there's always pros and cons considered for every single food. So I am very happy to learn that you've been able to tolerate small portions. It's maybe pH 60 is teaching you something about the body as opposed to something that might have been researched online. And we see, because what we see online is not necessarily true or untrue, it's just true for some people. And you have to consider what your specific body needs at a specific time.
That's such a great answer, Danielle. I just want to reinforce that answer to everybody, that it really is dependent on who you are right now, both internally and externally. So whether we're talking about nightshades or we're talking about cruciferous vegetables that are really bad for certain people, it all depends on who you are, because there's so many positive properties of all the foods. And again, you'll see this recurrently. There's so many people that are out there promoting a lot of great foods and great health benefits for lots of different foods and food ideas. We're always of the view that everybody's right. There's a lot of great foods out there and a lot of great superfoods out there for a lot of people. However, it depends on who you are. And so, again, pH 360 will really be able to provide the information of what's right for you right now. It's not saying that there's good or bad foods. It's just saying what's good or bad for you right now, and that can change as you change. So great question, Pam. Thank you so much for that one, and thank you, Daniella. So we're going to jump over here to Carol Ross. And Carol says, on my foods list, sole is 4 smileys, which is a type of fish for those that don't know. But my food guide says eat white fish no more than 3 times a week. How does that work?
Okay, let me try to explain the way these smileys are generally to be considered. Let's say a 5 smiley is something that you can have about daily, and 4 smiley is something that you could have about every other day, and 3 smileys would be just more than a week, more than weekly. 2 smileys would be just under weekly, and 1 smiley would be monthly. And so if you consider it somewhat like that, then if you have 3 fish 3 times a week, you'd be having it pretty much every other day, which still corresponds to 4 smileys. So in addition to that, you can definitely have other fish and white meat and whatever else might be available in your foods to eat list to be able to supplement everything that you need nutritionally. But you don't have to worry too much about the smileys and the food guide being inconsistent. Generally, it works together. And if we need more clarifications, I know that Jules has been providing some really good explanations in her webinars and hangouts with Jules. So you can maybe check that out.
Absolutely, that's very, very true. And for those that haven't yet checked out Hangouts with Jules, this is a service that's there for small group coaching for those that need a little bit more assistance and need some more understanding. And we're actually running this. This is a service that's a small group pay for coaching service. We're offering completely free right now. So if you haven't yet checked out Hangouts with Jules, please go and check that out. There should be an offer or the link if you're watching the replay. So thank you, Carol. And actually, there's another question here from Carol while we're here, Daniella. With eggs low on my list and oatmeal, in brackets, which I haven't eaten in years, at 4 smileys, I feel my breakfast options are limited. What do I do?
Okay.
Eggs are low and oatmeal's high.
Yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure that the concept of what is a breakfast food needs to be broken, because we tend to think about it out of habit that we have eggs for breakfast. And if you don't have eggs for breakfast, you don't know what to have. There's many other things that we could have, such as yogurt or kefir with berries or other allowed fruit, or maybe a fish taco for breakfast. I mean, if we try some guacamole on some chicken breast, or put some things that you would normally have for lunch or dinner that you feel like having for breakfast, and change the concept of this is a breakfast food and this is a lunch food and this is a dinner food, and start thinking about just eating the right things for you. And then you can actually have a huge variety of foods available.
Excellent. And that is a new concept to consider, Daniella, and it's again, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks sometimes, but we really encourage you guys to think a little bit more about what's right for your body as opposed to what we've been doing for most of our life. And that really is one of the keys here to success with our health moving forward. And we're really excited about being able to change a lot of the ways we think about health and about foods, especially at the moment, moving forward into the future of the human race. So jumping to our next question, we've got a question here from Regina. Here's a great question that Regina asks. I've had blood tests done previously to find out what my food sensitivities are. The foods that those tests have said to avoid are ones that PH360 recommends now. Should I try to combine the best of both PH360 and food sensitivity results, or try to forget everything done before and just go with this? Now, I'll just quickly jump in there, Regina. We did actually address food sensitivities on the previous webinar. So please click a link through to the YouTube channel. That brings us to all the videos that exist for resources there. Webinar number 3 in this series that I believe it may have been where we talked about food sensitivities. So Regina, please click on there. But I'd just like to actually address the rest of the context here, as there's a lot of people in the same position as you, Regina. And so just to go on a little bit further, Regina says, note that I resorted to food sensitivity testing after shedding a total of 85 pounds over 11 long years. 65 pounds of that was over 2 years using a meal replacement program, which I needed to and wanted to stop. However, I started gaining weight before I even stopped the program, and was discouraged by the fact alone that combined with a trip to Europe where she ate lots of bread, and that also combined with some life events, she's since sadly and to her horror gained back 3 out of 5 dress sizes. I'd really like to stop this vicious cycle and have a normal life without being a slave to fasting, deprivation, and exercise. In brackets, at the time I exercised 5 to 6 times a week and was told in order to even maintain the weight at the time, since I was first plateauing and then slowly gaining, I would have to even increase that more often and eat even less. So Daniella, let me just jump in on this one quickly. Regina, I'm so sorry that you've been in that position or been given that information. As I said, jump on the previous webinar for the food sensitivities, but just to really address the context here, I know there's so many listeners out there right now that are in a similar position that have tried so many different things before, that have been on meal replacement programs or certain fasting regimes, often specific diets, that have found that they're doing yo-yo so that they'll lose some weight, gain some weight back. Probably the biggest things to consider here is that the first one I just want to point out is that foods are not just the only answer. You really need to consider that PH360, even though we talk about foods because there's such a huge demand from all of you wanting to know the why behind foods at the moment, that's a perfect example of the way that, if you ask someone on the street, how do you change your health and improve your health? The answer that anyone will give is food and exercise. It's what we know. That's what we learn. That's what we understand. If you want to change your health, change your foods and change exercise. And what we're trying to really educate people on here in PH360 is it's far more than that. And you may find that in instances like this, these other areas in your life are just such an important factor. Food sometimes can be a really large factor, and sometimes they can only be a small part of the puzzle. And sometimes that changes with you over time, which is likely the case here. And so some examples of that, considering the environment, your place section. We have people that we work with in a medical and health capacity that we actually need to encourage them to physically change locations that may help with certain conditions, certain arthritises, changes their weight. Very, very important for making sure that you actually address the reasoning why you're in that health state right now. And it may be your environment, maybe your internal environment, maybe your external environment. It may be internal environment, such as the lighting that you have, such as dusts or molds or any of those reasons that maybe they're contributing towards poor health. It may be outdoors, it may be externally, such as your climate or toxicity. Maybe the weather, allergens in the air. There's so many different reasons in the environment why that may be contributing towards your health status. It may be an area in your social tab with the social that may be linked to some states of depression, similar sorts of mental states that can prolong these states of ill health and actually contribute towards the actual gain of weight or even avoidance of weight loss. We talk about health more than weight because weight is a reflection of health often. But again, we talk about weight in the capacity of your body composition, not necessarily what you are on the scales. So even your social interactions can change your health and can change your weight and your body's physiology. We've got the career section, which talks about and relates very highly levels of stress. This can be related to things like anxiety, again, which can relate to health or poor health, and weight gain or weight loss. We talk about the mind section and even the perception for you to be able to change states of chronic pain, eating habits, so many different things that relate to the mind section that you'll see insights into there. The exercise section, where you said you exercise 5 to 6 times a week, maybe the type of exercise you were doing that wasn't right for you. Maybe you were doing a longer running or longer exercise when you should have been doing shorter, more strength-based exercises, or maybe it was the opposite way around for you. This is something that, unless you understand the specifics as to what's right for you, we often just go on this wild goose chase and may get some results for a while that then plateau because we don't change as our body is changing. And so I just want to highlight there the fact that this could be something completely outside of your food section that's that's contributing towards your situation right now. And this really is the power of PH360. It's based on epigenetics. It's based on all the things outside of your genes that affect or influence the way that your genes express and influence your health status at this current time and also in the future. And so I really encourage you there, Regina, to have a good look into all the other parts of your life, not just your foods, but PH360 will be able to give you some really good understanding about the foods that are right for you. But there's often contributing factors in all areas of life that may need to be addressed. And especially where you've mentioned there, if you've had some life events that happened for you, maybe there is some other things that you need to be looking at in relationships, in stress, in maybe even the work that you're doing or things you're doing with your time, and also your current environment that could be contributing significantly to your current state of health. So we really hope that PH360 can give you the insights you're after. I hope that's been helpful. And yeah, again, please go and check out the previous webinars on food sensitivities. Daniella, sorry for taking up all the time there.
No, excellent answer. I love it.
And we might keep moving. I'm sorry about that. So we've got a great question here from Jan Schulman. I'm still wondering about being allowed 3 smileys for most cabbages and some for Chinese cabbage and cauliflower, as I'm hypothyroid, just for those that were listening there. I am also being told to avoid cruciferous vegetables, which has been something that we've discussed. Can you help me with this dilemma? That's a great question, Jan. Daniella, would you be able to just help us navigate through this one?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, the food guide is not saying avoid. It really does say reduce or avoid because it depends on the condition. In some cases, it is avoided. In some cases, it's just really reduced. Though cruciferous vegetables like cabbage and cauliflower, they do slow down the thyroid. There are studies on that. I know that some people think that there's no animal studies. There's studies on it. There's studies on hyperthyroidism as well. So we do have proof that it does slow down the thyroid. But they do need to be consumed in very high quantities for this to happen. And under certain conditions, with vergoideris and that kind of stuff. So there's certain conditions for it. Nonetheless, these foods are definitely reduced greatly if anybody has hypothyroidism. So if you mentioned that you have hypothyroidism, or if PH360 has calculated that you have a risk for hypothyroidism, these foods will be reduced. Nonetheless, there are many benefits that you can have from these kinds of foods on occasion, and this is considered. So the vitamins, minerals, and antioxidant properties that these foods have are not being ignored. They are being considered, and if it's necessary for you to consume it every once in a while, such as 3 times, that means once a week, it's not going to damage your thyroid, but maybe you're getting some very important nutritional properties from them.
Fantastic. Thank you for clarifying that there, Danielle. That's really important to be able to understand that pH 360 is very dynamic in balancing things. And so it's not just a blanket saying you have this condition, so we're going to exclude everything. It's saying that we have, you may have this that's going on in terms of these symptoms or this this imbalance. So we'll consider that with everything else in your life, and we'll decide and help decide what's best for you right now and help you navigate through that current situation. And of course, things will change for you in the future. So many questions to get through. Thanks again, Daniella, for being so patient with us as we motor on through the brain and pick your brain till the cows come home. We've got some great questions here from Lisa Fuhlman. The first one asks, I have low smileys for oils. Instead of buying lots of them and having to go bad, can I just use coconut and olive oil until the levels of oils increase?
Okay. Are we going to, well, let me look at the profile here. Okay. So looking at the profile, I'm seeing that there's no specific reason for avoiding fats in general. So let me just take a look at the oils that are allowed. And I'm seeing that linseed oil and grapeseed oil are 4 smileys. And those should be considered above coconut oil and olive oil. So olive oil has 3 smileys, coconut oil has 1. If you would like to use less variety and focus mostly on a few choices because of course, buying a big bottle or something like that, then I would definitely focus on flaxseed oil, a 4 smiley, grapeseed oil, a 4 smiley, and olive oil, a 3 smiley. And of those, I would probably use the grapeseed oil for cooking, if that is what you're going to use, because it is more resistant to higher temperatures than the others. But yeah, I wouldn't look at coconut oil. That was a 1 smiley food, so it's better not to use that one at this time.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Daniella. And there's a number of questions here from Lisa, so I'm just going to go through a couple while we're here. Lisa asked a good question just on the oils there too, is what is your take on the health issues of canola oil?
Oh, sure. So canola oil, it has a bad rap for good reasons. It was highly manufactured and processed, and it's got some bad stuff in it. But that's not the same as organic cold-pressed rapeseed oil, which is essentially canola oil in its better form. So we can't eliminate it completely from the diet. We do need to consider it. Very often you'll see that canola oil will be lower on the scale than others just because of the way it is manufactured. It is a very good cooking oil because it can be resistant to higher temperatures than some of the other ones, which can become dangerous if we cook them. So it is not to be completely eliminated from the list, but of course we would be recommending, as always, the best sources of everything, which would be in this case organic cold pressed.
Excellent, thanks for clarifying. And that's a great question because there's a lot of times that this will come up. We do read a lot of things that are not so great in the press about certain foods, and canola oil is a really good example of that. So, and Daniella, just to clarify there, we do actually consider that in the process that will show up lower on the lists because canola oil is often in that state. But if you're able to find, as we encourage for everything, if you're finding your organic cold pressed rapeseed oil, then that's something that is a healthy alternative for that. So we don't exclude it because it is a great thing that has benefits for people, and we always encourage you guys to look for organic. If it's meats, grass fed, free range, we always go for everything that's possible to returning back to nature without any of the refined and processed components to it. So thanks for the great questions there, Lisa. Actually, we've still got a few more for Lisa, so I'll keep going. Lisa asks, and we have covered a few of these in previous webinars, but I'd like to just cover this again now if you can, Daniella, because we have had lots of questions about it. Can you elaborate on the mixed items in the prep section? If I can't do veggies, fish and rice, how can my body absorb the protein with no carbs present? And that's a really good question because there is a lot of interesting takes on that. Could you just shed us some light from a scientific point of view on how can our body absorb protein if there's no carbs present?
Okay, yes, absolutely. If we were to skip the first digestive process of chewing your food and using spit and everything like that, to go straight into the second process, which is the stomach and the digestive system of what we call, and there's 2 components, stomach and small intestine, that really digest and break down the foods. So I'll focus on the stomach because that's essentially where we're getting a lot of those mixed things. And the thing that really breaks down the foods in the stomach is hydrochloric acid, or HCl. Sometimes people can see it actually as a supplement out in the stores. These create what we would call pepsins and the enzymes that are very important for the role of digestion. So we need to consider that what causes good digestion or promotes good digestion would be the concentration of enzymes that we have in our stomach, the quantity of protein that needs to be digested at a time. This is why we always focus on portion sizes as well. The acidity of the stomach. So we do need an acid stomach. It needs to break down the food. It's actually usually about a pH of 3, so very acid. And the temperature of the food. Yes, people have been looking at the raw food and everything, and I keep promoting that cooked foods will be easier to digest than the raw ones. There are theories about the time of the day. There's also digestive issues that you might have physically. So there's many factors that contribute to good digestion, but not necessarily the kind or quantities of carbs that you would have. We really do need to consider pepsin and gastric enzymes that need to be there to be able to break down the proteins. I hope that was clear.
Yeah, that's very clear. Thanks for going through that. And sometimes it's very hard to know because we see so many different things on the internet. And the internet can be our best friend sometimes and our best enemy sometimes too. So it's really great to hear the truth about some of these things, because if you go on a lot of bodybuilding sites or muscle magazines, you hear lots of different things about needing carbohydrates for proteins, even stuff, even in university curriculum, sometimes some things that are a little bit outdated. It's hard to know, but it's good to hear the very specific science that goes on, the enzymes in the stomach that actually break down to peptides and then into the small intestine after that. It's pancreas releasing enzymes to break down those further into individual amino acids. It really does make it really clear that there's not too much confusion about it if you understand the science. And that's what we really pride ourselves on. And hopefully you guys are getting a good insight as to how much depth of science and medicine is really behind pH360. So thanks again, Daniella, for all your genius in explaining all this for us. So going to move on. We've still got more questions right here from Lisa. So we're just going to keep on moving down. Lisa's next question, she asks, when I put an apple in my smoothie, does this count as apple juice?
No, that would actually consider the apple. The apple juice would basically be the fiberless version of it. We are referring to the apple that just basically gets blended and processed in a different way.
Okay, excellent, thanks. And we have covered that quite a bit on the other webinars too. So again, for those listening at home, feel free. I think this was actually on the first webinar that we did. We covered the difference in the constituents and the molecular makeup and the way that it changes molecular properties of foods in different forms. So please, again, go and check out all the webinars with all the information that's there. We're putting these on for you for all your benefits. So please, if you're interested and want to learn more, take the time to go through. There's a wealth of information that we're pulling straight out of Daniella's brain right now. So thank you again, Daniella, for that. So next question we have still on Lisa. We've got, I have soybeans in the vegetables list and soybeans or soy seeds in the nut list. Can you please explain the difference?
Yeah, the bean of the soy would be considered the mature bean, and it is usually what you end up seeing. It's the most common type. That bean contains more calories, protein, fats, carbs than the seed would, just because it's more mature, so it's been able to build it up. It also has many more nutrients, such as potassium, iron, calcium, and magnesium. So this is generally a more potent type of produce. The seed of the soy, so I think we could probably improve the way it's described in the description, because it really is the seed. It's the immature one, the green soy seed, which I think some people call it edamame. I'm not sure about the pronunciation of that because it is a Japanese word, but it is essentially harvested before the soybean is completely mature. That's why it's called the seed. So we've distinguished them. Soybeans is usually what you end up finding in stores, so seeds less frequent, but it's considered a seed.
Okay, thank you, Daniella, for clarification there. Fantastic. I've heard agave syrup. This is still on Lisa. You've got lots of questions. Thank you so much. And hopefully this is answering lots of other people's too, which I know it is. So I've heard agave syrup has more fructose than high fructose corn syrup. Why do you recommend it? Okay. Great question.
That is a great question. I think it's important to consider agave, which comes from a cactus, very similar to honey, which comes from the bees, and the maple syrup, which comes from a tree. They're all very natural sources of fructose and glucose. They're quite high. They are considered discretionary sweeteners. They are very often not the first recommendation for people with diabetes or glycemic issues, just because they do have high glycemic indexes. But they are very yummy sugar alternatives. So I don't think it necessarily needs to be considered dangerous for all individuals. It's just, yes, agave is a high glycemic alternative to sugar. And you're probably not going to find it as a 5 smiley everywhere just because of its high concentration of fructose. But we can't ignore the fact that it really is full of nutritious properties. It is a natural product that we can find the same way maple syrup and honey needs to be considered.
Absolutely. Very timely, I think. There's lots of those things. And again, just reinforcing the fact that everybody's different. Everybody needs different foods at different times of their life. Whatever you see on your foods list now will be different in the future because you'll be a different person in the near future. Now, we've got another question. So we're still going, Lisa, here. We've got the 7th question coming up here, and we might leave it at that. And we love the questions, guys. Please keep them coming. Fantastic. The question is about monk fruit. Is monk fruit part of the PHD60 database?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked about that. Yes, I've been doing all kinds of research on the monk fruit. We all have. It's been kind of our little talk. Monk fruit has come out recently. Now, in American media, it's come out probably in the last year, but we've been studying it for the last 5 years. So just to let you know that we actually put a lot of effort and research into all our foods before we actually publish anything because we don't want to say anything wrong. It really does get scrutinized. So now, monk fruit, just off the top of my head, this is what I remember, is it is much sweeter than sugar. It doesn't have the same calories, in fact, no calories, and the glycemic effect, therefore, is basically no. And we do need to consider, and the reason it's been scrutinized right now is because it is relatively new. So there haven't been enough studies, animal studies or human studies on long-term effects that we might have. It is a highly processed food. So we need to make sure that in the processing methods, nothing gets damaged or ruined. And we want to make sure that, you know, sometimes things become a hype. So they're new and everybody talks about them and thinks they're great. And then 5 to 10 years down the road, something else might come up and we go, oh, that wasn't actually as good as we thought. So we don't do that in PH360. When we tell you something's good, it really is good. And that's why monk fruit is not there yet, but it will be.
Well, thank you, Danielle. I know that you guys are doing amazing work. You and the team are just phenomenal with the amount of amazing developments that are happening with PH360. We're so excited. And for those listening in right now, this PH360 is such a new tool that's been available. We've been working on this for over 10 years, and it's only been around for probably 8 months. We've done extensive testing on it. It's international in so many different areas in Europe, in Asia, in Australia, in the US. And many people listening, I'm sure, from other countries that are using PH360. But there's so much more developing, and that's why, again, we really encourage you guys to be considering the amazing offer that's out there right now for friends and family. That if you guys are wanting to take advantage of that, it really is just an absolutely phenomenal, $97 for a lifetime. If you knew what was coming, if you knew what was in our minds and our heads and our plans that already exist, that you'd be wanting to make sure that everybody's got this, because unfortunately, it's very expensive to do what we're doing, and the price, we need to make sure that we've got the funds to be able to keep doing this and do this for you guys. So, we really encourage you guys to be engaged in that as much as you can. And hopefully just at the start of this call, you saw a little bit of an insight as to some of the things that are coming. So, right. Now, Daniella, we're going to jump to what the feedback we've had from actually logging in live to people's profiles has been fantastic. Like, really, people have enjoyed that so much and got a lot out of it to be able to see what's different there. And I'd love to just jump into a few people's profile if we can now. So again, bear with me, guys, while I try and make some magic happen here. Now might be a good time while I've got 60 seconds to jump over. If you could just share with us again from your point of view, how would you describe PH360? What is PH360 in your words?
Oh, well, PH360, I would call it, I don't know what to call it, actually. Sorry, that's not the right way to start it. I would actually just think it's just layers and layers and layers of data, all valued in a different way. So if I were to picture PH360, I would think of it as coatings or layers. If I were to go to the Grand Canyon, for instance, and you see those layers of soil, and you can see how a certain type of soil was there for a very long time and other ones for a short time, and different types of properties and the minerals, and it creates different colors, and very beautiful place to see. I see PH360 very much like that. So we have many layers, and some layers are thicker than others because they might be more important than others. And some of the layers are very multiple and many, and other layers are just a few and far between, depending on your health condition and the experiences you've had. And all those layers in the end, they create a very unique set of lines, like a barcode for you. And this barcode of thick and thin lines and short and fat and long ones and all these different layers of data for you are so unique that it really looks at what you need right now and what you would need in the future.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that answer. It's great. And we've logged in the meantime. We've got a Josefina Olmos here, and Josefina, I hope you're listening in. If not, hopefully you were listening in the replay, and everybody else can follow along here. So she's got a lot of great questions here, especially about some cooking. First question here from Josefina is about raw food. So raw food in the prep section list is listed with 2 smileys, but it says to eat 1 serving of green leafy vegetables every day. I love my raw salad that I have every day, and raw juices and smoothies. Why not raw foods?
Okay, I think we did talk about raw foods for a few people, so I'm not going to go too much into details about the whys and why nots of raw foods, other than very often it's a digestive issue. Raw foods are harder to digest than cooked foods, just because the chlorophyll and the outer barrier of those cells gets broken down through cooking, and it allows some of the nutrients to be released while also reducing the strain it is on the digestive system to break that barrier. Now, salads, just in general, lower the body temperature, so it's very often great in warm months if that is what you need. If you're in the southern hemisphere, then you might need to prepare your body for the cooler months that are coming up right now. So it's also important for someone to consider that if PH360 is saying eat green leafy vegetables once a day, so that would be, let's say, for lunch or for dinner. It doesn't necessarily have to be a raw salad. It could very much be cooked. We can cook our kale, we can cook our spinach, we can cook many things that would be our green leafy vegetables, even salads, believe it or not. And it does change the structure of the cell to make it easier to digest. So that is very possible that that is one of the reasons, or warming your body, or several other things. I mean, yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Daniella. And Josefina, I hope that helps clarify exactly what's going through there. Now, a couple more questions here from Josefina while we're in here. My food guide says dried fruit a few times a week, but I only have gojis on my list. So let me just quickly jump to the food guide.
Right. And while you're doing that, I've been looking at something that I'm noticing in her profile, and she is saying, you know, not just that she's in the southern hemisphere and getting ready for the winter, but that she's also struggling with weight loss in general, and she does have some weight that she would like to lose. Just to let you know, Josephine, that while you're going into the winter months, it is naturally harder for your body to release the weight because it's essentially using it to protect you from the cold. So it wants to keep those things in. That's why hibernation works in nature, and all the animals kind of fatten themselves up. Well, your body kind of does the same thing. Even if we live in a warmer climate indoors, our body naturally protects ourselves from cold exposure and keeps that weight in. So don't try to lose too much weight in winter months. However, if you do things well and you keep your body warm and you're eating the warm foods that are suggested and you maintain weight, so you avoid gaining it, you will notice that you will be able to shed weight practically without effort in the spring, because that's what our body naturally does. It now gets rid of all the toxins, gets rid of those extra layers, and prepares for the warmer months in which we don't want to have that heat stagnating in our system, but more released. So allow nature to take its course. I just want to mention that in addition to what we were talking about with the cooked foods and the veggies, just that cooking those foods could actually be beneficial for you in the spring.
Absolutely. Thanks, Danielle. And just quickly here, but just jumping back to the dried fruits a few times a week and about the gojis on the list. So we just had a look through the food guide here that talks about the specifics of dried fruits.
After serving dried fruit no more than twice a week. So there should be dried fruit nonetheless in her system. Would we be able to go into the foods to eat and just put in the search dry?
Sure.
Dried.
Excellent.
Because that would be the key word that we would have.
Yeah, excellent. Just quickly here, and I don't know if this is the case, but for those listening, potentially, Josephina, sometimes we might have a look here and we can see goji berries and think that this is all that's on our list. Just be aware there's a lot of different ways to search through. You can go through next, or you can just drop down here and have all your foods listed down that will scroll down all the way to the bottom. So just wanted to point that out just in case we're sometimes looking at our foods and think they're restricted. there is a lot more on the list there. So just wanted to point that out. So
you know what, Matt? Thank you very much for pointing that out. I've had a couple emails where people are saying, I have such a restricted diet, I can't eat anything. I'm thinking, but you can eat so much. Dried IED, that's right. And yes, and so this is actually very good to point out that people can probably are not seeing the full list of the things that they have. So it's very good. Thank you. So other than sun-dried tomatoes, which we would consider a vegetable, we have pear and figs and cranberries and mango and pineapple and apricot. They are there in smaller smileys. So 2 smileys and 1 smileys. Essentially, when you combine those, you will be having your half a portion twice a week. We don't necessarily want to have lots of one food, but we have many of the dried version, as well as what you were saying with goji berries. I'm pretty sure acai berries were in there and other ones. But here's an example of you're not that limited for dried fruit.
Excellent. And that's great. And often we may not scroll down to the bottom and see these, or we may just see 1 smiley and discount it. But what that's actually saying, for some people, just to point out here, that may not have a lot of 4- and 5-star smileys on their list, it's just suggesting that you need to have a lot of variety. So if you've just got a lot of 1 and 2 and 3-star, 3 smiley foods, it means you need to be eating a lot of difference and a lot of variety regularly, as opposed to just eating much of the same thing. So just be aware of that as well, because we have had a few people that have asked about that too. So thank you for clarifying that, Danielle. And the last question here, where do I get the catechins told in my healthy eating tips from? So just a quick look here.
Yeah, catechins are generally found in green tea at the most, but you're also going to be able to find them in blackberries and dark chocolate and grapes and fava beans, and they have already been considered for you in the pH360 diet, so you don't really need to worry too much about having to find them as long as you're respecting some of those smileys. So catechins is right there, number 2 sentence. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yep,
so if you were to look at, let's say, blackberries in this food to eat.
Okay. See if
There's blackberry. There's a 3 smiley for blackberry. Also, I noticed, I think that I saw cranberry up ahead, and there's a few other catechins that are in there. What else am I seeing? Goji berries, and we're probably going to be able to find green tea high in her list. If you were to look at green tea, there's different foods in there. They've already been considered, so you're noticing that blackberries and some of these other ones are not low on the list, they're higher. Green tea is a 5-star, that's where you're going to find most of them. So yeah, you just need to consider that pH360 has already done the work for you. We're just letting you know about some of the information that was there that was considered. And perhaps we can use that as part of the why factor, what Matt was talking about earlier in the webinar, where we're going to have that left panel, which is descriptive information about the food, and the right panel, which is going to be why is that food included or excluded from your recommendations. And perhaps we can explain which foods have some catechins in there for you to make it clear, but it's a work in progress.
Fantastic. Thank you, Daniella. And thanks so much, Josephina, for the questions. They're fantastic. Hopefully that has helped clarify your questions. And for those listening now, I'm going to log out and log into our next Dilip Sate that has asked some questions. So I'm just going to quickly grab Dilip's login details here. Just give me 1 second. Thanks for your patience, everybody listening in. This is live, so things may or may not go right, or may not go wrong. So we're hoping on the latter. Okay, we're in. Beautiful. So Dilip asks, if I buy 1 and 2 smiley foods and they are perishable, then they don't last until the time comes when I can eat them again. I am single, so I have no family to mop up the extras. Okay, do you have some suggestions? That's a great question, Dilip, because there is a lot in that situation. So
that is a great suggestion. Some of the things, sorry, great question. Some of the things I could suggest would be possibly even getting other people to be involved in pH360. It's something that I do because I have somewhat the same problem. So I just have other people kind of getting involved. I might share groceries that I know they're bigger portions when they're sold or they're really on sale, and I would share groceries with people. If I can, smaller amounts would be purchased. Sometimes you can get the small bottles of oils and the small containers. I know that sometimes they're more expensive, but it's worth having smaller amounts than throwing the bigger amounts away. I hate throwing away food. The other thing that you can do is try to focus more on some of the higher smileys if it is possible. And if it's not possible, see if you can make pre-prepared meals and freeze them. I would probably avoid microwaving them when you try to thaw them out. Thawing them out at room temperature and heating them naturally would be good, but that's another option too. I'm pretty sure that Jules will be able to do one of her hangouts with Jules and kind of go over recipes, tips, and tricks for some of these things as well.
Jules is certainly the guru on the everyday front, and so she'll help you navigate through any troubles that you have. Again, you should see something pop up on your screen about Hangouts with Jules. Please take advantage of that, guys. It's free. This will be a paid service in the future for small group coaching, so please jump on that. I think Jules's Hangout, her second series started yesterday. I believe the next one starts in 2 weeks' time, so you can go ahead and register for that if you haven't already, and enjoy the amazing Jules, who hopefully you guys have come across at some stage on Facebook or just generally talking about life and being the amazing Jules. So Hangouts with Jules, highly recommend it. Thanks for the question, Delete. That's fantastic. Delete's got a couple more questions here. I have 5 smileys for grapes, but only 1 smiley for raisins. Okay, great. Are raisins restricted because of some varieties are treated with sulfur dioxide or other ingredients? If I can find raisins made without any additives or preservatives, can I have them every day? Are all varieties included in the category of raisins, like golden, currant, dark, etc.? Daniella, would you better help clarify? It's a great question, Delete. Thank you.
It is a great question, and I think it's important to consider the fact that PH360 really is looking at the best types anyway. So even though we know that there's a lot of them with sulfur dioxide, we do consider that, but in moderation, not very much. It's not going to increase or decrease too much. If it's a 1 smiley, it might raise it to 2, but not to 5, and certainly not every day. In your profile that I'm looking at while I was speaking right now, I noticed that raisins were included because of their potassium content, which is good for you, but they're not very high because they're very concentrated amounts of sugar. Being a dehydrated food, it means the water has been removed and the sugar concentration is high, so a handful of raisins is very potent in sugar as opposed to grapes. Now, grapes have actually been included for many factors for you because of their calming effect, their cooling effect, their diuretic effect, and their laxative effect. So there are many reasons for grapes as opposed to raisins, and that's why there's that big difference. I wouldn't recommend having raisins every single day just because you can find a better source, but find yourself a great source of grapes and you'd be doing yourself a favor.
Excellent. Well, thanks for clarifying there, Danielle. That's fantastic. And Dileepa, hopefully that answers your question there. And for others listening in, that you see the different varieties or different ways that the food is actually presented, it sometimes doesn't make sense when you see it there, because it does, common sense kind of says it seems like it's the same thing, apples or apple juice or grapes and raisins. So there's so much behind this that we consider, and hopefully that's starting to become more and more clear, especially for those of you who've been so fantastic and listened to 4 webinars now with Daniella. Hopefully you understand some of the amazing insight and power behind what's here for PH360. We've got another question from Delete. I see mustard sprouts and mustard in the food list. Is any of these equivalent to mustard leaves, or do I need to suggest mustard leaves as a new food item?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited about this question too because it's on our list. It's coming out very soon. We've been concluding the research along of mustard greens, which we're also calling musina. So that's what you're calling mustard leaves. I guess we can add that into the name since there are different ways of calling the same thing. So they have a research and check by our team. It will be uploaded shortly, and thank you very much for suggesting that. Do not hesitate to suggest the foods. We will be able to do the research, or maybe we already have. We just haven't uploaded all of that kind of stuff yet. But yes, it will be up soon. And no, it's not the equivalent of mustard seeds or mustard. It is a different type of properties, but it will be coming soon.
Excellent. Thanks, Daniella. And Dileep, and for others listening, here at the bottom of the food section, if you can see, you can just scroll down to the bottom of your section. It says suggest a food. We're adding new foods to the PH360 database all the time. Is there a food or drink you would like to be included? Suggest it here. And you can go ahead and click on that and it will bring up an email that you can then just send the food to us, and our team will consider all the foods that you guys send, and we'll go through and code those and add them into the system. If you'd like to listen to our reasoning on which foods we will or won't consider, please listen to the previous webinar where we did address that in a bit more depth. But the short answer there is that we'll consider the foods that will actually change your biochemistry in some way, shape or form, versus varieties, lots of different varieties of apples or mushrooms and crackers and all those sorts of foods. It could be an endless database considering lots of different things versus the ones that actually make a difference to your biochemistry and hence your health. Please listen if you want some more detail. I think that was the previous webinar number 3 in this series. But otherwise, please always suggest the foods here, and we'll code those and add those as soon as we get to them. And bear in mind, it does take quite a long time if you suggest it. I think sometimes it's up to 2 months to actually do the proper research and coding, because hopefully you can understand how much detail goes in the back end here to ensure that you actually get an accurate list that comes out for you. So thank you, Dileep, and thank you, Daniella. Now we're going to log out of Dileep's and jump into Catherine Fitzgerald next. So please bear with me again while we just quickly grab Catherine's details. Yeah. Alrighty. Okay, we're in Catherine. I'm just going to skip through your section here. It's just going to be all good as the answers there in future, so you can just ignore that one. Okay, so we're into Catherine's profile. Again, guys, for those logging in live, you won't see anyone's passwords logging in, and you can change your passwords at any time, so you're 100% safe. Okay, now Catherine has some great questions, has quite a lot of questions here actually that we're going to get through. This should be really helpful for others listening in. So to start with, Catherine says, "It's so strange my food list doesn't make any sense to me, and I really want it to make sense." This is a very common question. Don't worry, Catherine, you are not alone. This is a very common response from a lot of people. And the reason why is because it's so different to what we have learned or what we've read on the internet or what we may have studied or lots of different things or what we've even made experience before. The food list seems strange, doesn't make any sense, and I want it to make sense. I'm confused now more than ever and would so love some feedback. Well, it's your lucky day, Catherine. Here we are. I'm sure I'm not the only person with a lot of questions. So let's go ahead and answer some of these questions for you right now, Catherine. So first question, why is rooibos only a 2 smiley? Let me just have a...
Okay. Matt, would you be able to go into the food list and not just look at rooibos, but look at tea in general? We'd be able to do a comparison that way.
Can do that instead? To type in tea and bring up all the teas? Or...
Yeah, let's just try and bring up all the teas so we can do a good comparison and be able to see. There we go. So now we can see that rooibos has 2 smileys, and we also see that there are other teas available like carminative tea, which is good for gas and digestion. We'll include fennel and such. Chamomile tea, which is a very good relaxant. Digestive tea, which will probably include things like peppermint or ginger. It's written in there in the descriptives if you don't know. And green tea and diuretic teas. So rooibos is very good for you. It's not necessarily bad. It has lots of antioxidant properties and it's great for the stomach. But if you look at some of these other teas, they're also higher. So we're not discouraging tea. We are encouraging some teas, but there are other teas that have other properties that are much better for you in your current condition than rooibos specifically. So it's all considered in the pros and cons. If you were to consider, let's say, how much tea you're going to have in a day, let's say you're going to have a cup of diuretic tea every day and then a green tea every day. No, sorry, not every day. One day a diuretic tea, one day a green tea, then a digestive tea, then a chamomile tea. I mean, you're going to get teed out by the time you have all of these. So rooibos is not eliminated. It's just trying to balance out the types of substances you put into your body and considering what is better or what is not as good for you in this specific moment in time.
Excellent. That's a great answer. Thank you, Daniella. And again, for anyone listening in, we can often just take that at face value. And again, if we can bunch all these up and this actually works, you can see a lot of the teas that are listed here. It's not saying that rooibos is bad tea at all for you. In fact, we're recommending it's on your foods to eat list. So this is something you can have once a week. We're just saying there's other teas that you'd have more often than you would for rooibos. And so that's important. And again, this will change over time. So with any foods that you have listed, you'll notice that some are better for you more often and others less, and that'll change over time. So just to really highlight the fact that if it's on your list here, we encourage you to have it. It's just the frequency or some other choices that may be more first choices and second choices before that actually comes up. So great question. Thank you. Catherine asks, why only 2 smileys for chia seeds? Chia seeds are often, again, this is great questions. You read so much about all the health benefits and superfoods of chia seeds. Why would chia seeds possibly be only a 2 smiley?
Okay. I'm looking into her profile right now just to understand chia seeds specifically. Now, I know chia seeds are great for omega-3 fatty acids. I just want to understand why it's not too high. Okay, there it is. So the reason it's not that high for her is because of the phosphorus content, which wasn't ideal for her at this specific time. So I think it's just important to consider that there are studies that show that the ratio between phosphorus and calcium can cause tooth decay, among other things. And considering the amount of cavities mentioned in that questionnaire, as well as a couple other factors, phosphorus was reduced and other factors such as calcium were increased, and therefore foods that contain enough phosphorus for it to be considered as a reduction have been reduced. Nonetheless, there's still chia seeds are still in the diet. They've not been completely eliminated. We see 2 smileys here for them. So they're still good. They're just not to be eaten too often. Once a week would be enough. We just don't want to have too much phosphorus content in our body, because in your case specifically, it's not the ideal thing to have right now.
Excellent. Thank you, Daniella. And again, just such a great example of the power behind PH360, because chia seeds is certainly doubted as one of the most amazing superfoods. Have it all day, every day, along with all the other superfoods, of course. So, the power here is just to really understand how often these foods are really good for you, and to understand that that's based on things right now. And as you can see, the depth behind this, even Daniella's talking about the phosphorus content and relationship between the ratios of calcium. It's a very, very detailed system that just produces something like, oh, maybe you should have 2 smileys for chia seeds. There's a lot more interaction that goes on than what Daniella's even mentioned there. So thank you for your simple answer, Daniella. It's great to understand why these things only show up a couple of times. And of course, it's different for everybody. So another question here from Catherine is asking about onions and garlic. In the same sort of manner, I think Catherine's line of questioning is, hang on, there's all these foods that are supposed to be really great for us. How come you're not giving to me very often? So onions and garlic only once a week or less, ? These are super wonderful for us. How come I'm not getting those either?
Yeah. You know what? I think it's very important to consider that garlic, for instance, is absolutely phenomenal for lowering cholesterol and for promoting a healthy cardiovascular activity. But just like every other food that's out there, there is no holy grail. All foods are good in certain quantities under certain conditions for certain people. So in this case, we have to consider that it can also cause stomach upset and flatulence, and it's got lots of phosphorus in it. So just like chia seeds, it's not exactly the ideal food to have at this time. That would be the same condition for onion. So for specific reasons, we had to consider that phosphorus, or even the effect on the digestive system, must be considered, and it cannot be considered the holy grail.
Excellent, and great answer. And again, just highlighting the difference between people, because in one aspect there you say they're so great for lowering cholesterol, promoting healthy cardiovascular activities, and so many things like that. Yet on the other side, depending on your current health status, it can cause stomach upsets, flatulence, and issues with the amount of the strength of the phosphorus and other things in these very, very powerful foods. So the balance that's there and what your smileys show is really so personalized for you. And hopefully some of you guys are looking in at home and seeing that garlic might be 5 for you, or it might be 2 for you, or it might be 3 for you, maybe 4 for you. That everybody is so different. So so thanks.
Some people have it at 5.
Yeah, of course, and thanks for the questions here. We're still going. Catherine's got more. Okay, what's up with the no liquor? Is there something that's a bias against a glass of wine a few times a week is actually good? What gives with that too?
Yeah, I think when it comes to alcohol in general, we do have to consider there's lots of research on the benefits. So those have not been disregarded in any way. We're not being negatively biased against alcohol, but we are very objective that it does have its effects as well. And right now, what I'm seeing as a first glance is there's certain stomach, digestive, and circulatory issues that were mentioned, and therefore alcohol was greatly reduced. So if we were to get the body balanced again, then that glass of wine every once in a while, or beer every once in a while, could be considered again. But right now, it's not going to cause more benefits than negative effects.
Excellent, great answer. And this is something just to touch on a little bit, because alcohol is often a very common part of life for a lot of people. And just wanted to point out that we're hopefully aware of the negatives for alcohol. It contributes towards inflammation, and even things outside of what we consider as purely food or even our body physiology. things from psychological effects. Often we might seek alcohol or drink alcohol to help with our stress or our mental state, other situations in life that we're wanting to sort of dull down because of the neurochemistry that it changes in your body when you actually do consume alcohol. And there's so many other ways to achieve these same benefits and same hormone hits and neurochemistry changes without needing to have alcohol if it is causing some ill effects in the rest of the body. On the other side, there's so many studies that show benefits of alcohol in the right quantities and in the right capacities. And so PH360 really identifies how balanced you are, what you can metabolize. Can you metabolize alcohol well? How does that affect your brain? And so many other things that you don't see in the front end that's presented to you. And that'll come up with a calculation as to how good alcohol is at this particular point in time. But just be aware that there's plenty of people that do have alcohol on their Smileys list. It's not something that's reduced for everyone as a blanket that we say alcohol is bad, because there are so many positive benefits of alcohol. But for you at this particular point in time, as Daniella suggested, in terms of your internal health, that's why alcohol is reduced. So it's not saying that alcohol is bad. It's just saying for you at this point in time, alcohol should be avoided because it's more detrimental than beneficial. And again, that can change over time. We've still got more questions coming from Catherine here. I'll ask one more while we're here. Okay, why no watermelon? Yes to mangoes, low on asparagus, no watermelon. Please explain.
Okay. Well, let me take a look at watermelon. Okay, yes, that one's not too hard. You see, watermelon is very high in water content as well as very high in sugar content, especially in comparison to the nutritional content it has. So since watermelon can dilute the stomach and therefore dilute the digestive juices and affect gastrointestinal function, it can cause some indigestion in some people, including in this case. So we did talk about some stomach issues, and therefore the watermelon was not necessarily a main factor to consider. It is also very high in sugar, so it's not always the #1 food to go for, just because of the balance between nutritional properties and then what you're getting for it. So what is the pros and cons against every single food? Let me take a look at asparagus now. Okay. With asparagus, I'm seeing that it has been suggested for the vitamin K content, which is going to help with the circulatory system, but that did not outweigh the need to reduce phosphorus. So we're at the phosphorus again. And as well, because it's not enough, the phosphorus was not enough to reduce it, it was also foods that might be hard to digest. Now we have 2 negative factors versus 1 positive factor at different weights as well, and that's why we have low on asparagus. Let's take a look at mangoes. So mangoes are great antioxidants. They have many nutritional properties that are very essential. They're easy to digest. They're great for the summer. So they are higher in Smileys because they can provide some of the vitamins C, D, E, and K, because we're going to circulatory system issues that she had before. So we need the vitamin K. It has that. And so it's all kind of being put together as, again, many layers of information, one on top of the other, and the mango has more plus points than minus points, whereas asparagus, as we saw, had more minus points than plus points, yet still on the food list, just very low. So that's kind of how PH360 works. It's putting more information together than what we'd be able to do in our heads and really balance out everything with a rather complex calculation.
Excellent. Just, the depth is phenomenal, Daniella, and I'm really hoping people are really seeing how much your health is in good hands here. There's so much that we consider in the back end, and the fact that we've chosen just to present to you a very easy to use system is how often you should have it. Lots of people want to understand why. A huge project that we're so excited to actually bring this to you, but actually the most important thing is just to be able to know what to do. So we give you all the information as to what you need to do, and the insights are here to recommend the best possible way for you to be healthy. We really encourage you guys to go and do it, and we are building out obviously the resources to help you understand why. A lot of people need to understand why something is there to be able to go ahead with something, and other people are very happy just to get started and find out why as it comes. So we really hope that from these 4 webinars you really see that there is so much depth behind what shows up in your results that will be enough to be able to trust and go forward, and let us help you with your health, because that's what we're really here for, to make such a difference. Now, Daniella, I know time is coming up again quite quickly. I can't believe how much time flies when you're having fun, but I'd love to get through just a couple more if you can hang around, maybe just 2 or 3 more. And for Absolutely. Those, I hope you guys can hang around, or at least listening to a webinar replay afterwards. Because I just really want to get through as many questions as we can. We've got, as it stands, there's hundreds of questions that we're not going to get to. So I'd really love to get through as many as we possibly can right now. We've got Kathy Michael, who's coming up next. I'm just going to quickly log into Kathy's profile as we go here. Okay, now Kathy's question. So Kathy says, my perennial runny nose stopped running on day 1. Wow, this has been a lifetime drip and it's dried up for 2 weeks now. Kathy, that's fantastic to hear. Really, really stoked.
That's awesome.
That's really awesome. And we've had so many testimonials from people actually whose health's been transformed in days, weeks. We're so happy to be sharing this with the world. It's really what it's all about. And PH360 isn't some new diet or pill or supplement. PH360 just helps you understand what is right for you right at this point in time, and it changes with you as you change. So Kathy, what you're doing right now will actually be different for you in a few months, as you'll be a different person in a few months. But we're super stoked that what you're doing right now is exactly what you need, and it will be in the future. And we're really excited to be able to provide the information to you and so many other people that can help change your life. And often it's these little things like a runny nose that doesn't seem like a huge deal, but it can literally change your life when you have a nose that stops running. So we're super excited, Kathy. Hopefully you're listening in or getting this in a replay. So I just want to, again, say thanks so much for all the testimonials from people, Facebook, everywhere that's coming through. I'd love to encourage you guys to send in an email for us or comment on Facebook. Ideally, if you can record a quick 60-second or 90-second video on your smartphone and email it to support@ph360.me so that you can play your part in helping others understand. Just by simply knowing what is good for you or not good for you right now, you can literally transform your health. And of course, weight and other things that come with that. So we really would love to encourage you guys to send that in so that we can help other people understand that this can change your health, because that's often the, that social proof is the hardest thing and the biggest barrier for a lot of people to actually take a step forward. So if you'd love to, we'd love to have your testimonials. Love for you to share your experiences with your friends and family, sharing PH360 with your affiliate list or client base. If you're a health practitioner using it in the clinic, volunteering at PH360 events, social media, and helping us really promote what's going on, and even suggesting PH360 to your health professionals to consider so that they can help more people as well. So let's jump into the questions. And it's great to hear, Kathy. Sorry, I just get a bit carried away. I get a bit excited about people when their health improves. So that's what this is all about.
I love it.
Okay, is the intention of PH360 during the first week or so to detox and clean out our bodies? Great question. Would you better answer that for us, Danielle?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a great question. And it's funny because that is the case for many people, but that's not necessarily what we're trying to do. It's just when people are going through a change of food that they habitually eat to foods that are specifically good for them and their bodies, then that might be the effect that they experience. So many people do go through a form of detox, which is sometimes hard for customer service representatives to try and promote and encourage to really stick through it, because it seems hard at first. But once you get through that first slump of detox effect, you'll notice major benefits after that. Unless you end up having a runny nose issue that cured on day 1. That's fantastic, but not everybody has that. So there is a detox effect for many people, for not all. Some people have been eating very good, healthy foods for a long time. Their detox period is shorter or possibly non-existent. Many people do end up experiencing lots of body changes, from diarrhea to actually runny noses is sometimes a detox factor in there, and just acne on their face, and they might realize that their body is going through some change as everything is coming out of their system.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thanks for clarifying that there, Daniella, and a great question. The comments here that we actually have from Kathy is, everything that I thought was healthy is a 1 smiley for me. This is kind of scary and disappointing, because from all that I've read, including Dave Wolfe, Dr. Erin Connolly, Body Ecology, Dr. McCullough, and lots more, I've been led to believe all the following are healthy. If it weren't for your program, how would I have ever known that these foods are not healthy for me? I'd love to understand why all these supposed healthy foods are around 1 smiley only. Mostly seaweed, sea salt, black pepper, avocado, coconut oil, other healthy fats, turmeric, cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, sweet potato, quinoa, leeks, buckwheat, ginger, elderberry, blah, 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 the list goes on. So this is, just let me jump in there first, Daniela, that this is such a great conversation that I want to just quickly address. Kathy, thanks for bringing this up. This is how a lot of people are feeling right now. It's saying, hang on, everything that's been told to us and taught to us that's healthy, you guys are saying you shouldn't be eating very often. A, that's not really the case. Things will change for you as you go over time. But B, I just wanted to make sure that we're really, really clear that these people that you're talking about and the work that's been done is phenomenal. The work that David Wolf does. We actually I interviewed David a couple of weeks ago on Healing with the Masters. The work that these guys are doing is phenomenal. We're huge supporters of a lot of the work that they do, and they're really pushing the boundaries in the areas of healthy foods and healthy fruits and vegetables, and helping us understand which foods have the most nutrient dense. And even with David as an example there, he talked about the energy and the actual love and the structure and the change molecularly and energetically that goes into foods and how that can change in our bodies. And so there's so much information that comes from these sources, and there's so many sources out there with so much information. We actually support all of those. What we do is we just help you understand what's right for you right now. So it's the person who's talking about the juice fast, or the person who's talking about the paleo, or the person who's talking about the high protein or the no protein, or the high carb or the low carb or the no carb or whatever. None of those are wrong. It just depends on who you are and what point in time you're actually existing internally, how healthy you are, and externally what your environment's like. So it really comes down to the epigenetics, the environment and lifestyle that can influence the way that your genes are activated. And it's seeing how your genes are in action that matters, and then finding out which is right for you. And that's what PH360 really is, that essence. And so just to really, I guess, address your question here, Kathy, sorry, Daniella, I'd love to understand, well, these supposedly healthy foods are around one smiley for me. Mostly seaweed, coconut oil, turmeric, cauliflower, sweet potato, quinoa, arugula, green tea, rooibos tea, and lots more. So could you just talk us through a couple of those, and we'll come and have a look, and we can talk.
Yeah, sure. Let's take a look at, we'll take a look at them, absolutely, but just off the top of my head while Matt is bringing them up, I can actually tell you that some of these foods are not holy grails, once again, just because it really depends on your condition. So let's say, for example, seaweed, which is high in iodine, which you shouldn't have if you're hyperthyroid. So that would be a healthy food that has a certain condition when you shouldn't have it. Turmeric is great for the circulatory system unless you are having issues with low blood pressure, and that would actually amplify the problem. Cauliflower is phenomenal, except that if you're hypothyroid, it can slow down your thyroid even more. So it really is about having the food that's right for you under the right conditions. And now we're going to specifically look at some of the foods for you once Matt is actually locked in. So I'm seeing seaweed. There's actually quite a bit of seaweed here. It just depends on which one. So we have the one in general, because sometimes we don't even know what kind it is. We have the three smiley, but we have dulse and agar and nori, and I wouldn't necessarily say that those have been eliminated for you. So go ahead and have them. They have excellent antioxidant properties. They're great for the digestive system, circulatory system, anti-cancer. They have good omega-3 vitamins. Oh gosh, they're very good. Potassium is also very much in seaweed. So I would go ahead and have those. Let's take a look at coconut oil. And
just to jump in there too, and often we can see, again, we might just look at some of the lists and see they're low. Here you can quite comfortably see 4 smileys for some seaweeds and 3. So this is something you can have pretty regularly, Kathy. So
that's right.
So you can see there. Now, turmeric was another one that we had to come up here. Let me just jump in with
turmeric. Sure. Let me take a look at turmeric. Although I do want to mention coconut oil if we can afterwards. There's some interesting information there. So turmeric, I'm looking at what's been said, and it has the ability to increase the body temperature, which means it is reduced a bit for summer months. So it will definitely increase again for the winter months, when you can benefit more from the antioxidant, anti-inflammatory effects. It's just that there are other foods that could provide those same components that you need without necessarily raising your internal body temperature. So it's essentially not as important as some other foods that might be out there. And I would, that would probably be why it's a 1 smiley. That would be the easiest way for me to explain why it's a 1 smiley.
Okay, excellent, thank you. And did you want to jump into coconut oil? Hopefully that answers your question there, Kathy.
Yes.
For you specifically.
The reason I wanted to mention coconut oil is just because when I looked at that, I'm seeing that it can also increase inflammatory biomarkers, even if it has been shown to improve antioxidant status and preventing lipid and protein abnormalities. It will probably go up in the future, but because it can increase inflammatory biomarkers, it has been left relatively low in comparison to some of the other benefits that it has. So this is why I want to mention coconut oil.
Excellent, thank you. Daniela.
There
And
is a reason for it.
yeah, there's a couple others. Cauliflower she mentioned. Can I bring up?
Yeah, sure. Let's take a look at cauliflower.
Does that, again, generally
Yep.
consider?
I'm seeing the cauliflower. It's not that low. It has 3 smileys, but it's not a 5 smiley food because it has sulfur, and it has antioxidant, and it has some of the factors that you need, but not that much of everything. More important. So essentially, when you come to balance out and having to choose which foods to eat at which point, cauliflower is an average food. It's not unhealthy. It's not bad for you. You can eat it every week, but you're not supposed to be eating it every day because there's other foods that you should be having every day. So if we look at the vegetables that we do have, those are the ones you should be eating every day.
Okay. Sweet potato, is that going to be similar?
Yeah, you know what? Sweet potato is very similar to that. It's not that it's a bad food. It hasn't necessarily been eliminated for any particular reason, but it's not necessarily providing the vitamins and minerals and nutrients that are needed at this time. Sometimes it's more interesting to look at the top foods and understand why they've been included and what are the nutrients and minerals that you actually need in your body. Some of these foods, which are very healthy, not necessarily bad for you, but if you fill yourself up on those, you're not going to get the other ones that you might actually need at this point in time. Got it.
Excellent. Thanks again, Daniela. And one last question here for Kathy, or she's still got a few to go, actually, so we'll see how we go.
Okay.
The pH 360, this is a really important one, actually, and we've had this quite a few times in a similar fashion. pH 360 seems to think I'm alkaline, but every time over the past few years that I've done a pH spit test, I come up with a pH of 6.4. Please explain the discrepancy. And this is a really good question. So if you could actually just walk us through a little bit more behind pH, and it's such a great play on words for pH 360, of course. It'd be great to understand just a little bit about that, because some people that have had tests done that think they're alkaline or acidic, and pH 360 might just give a recommendation. So would you just be able to talk us through that, Daniela, for a minute or two?
Absolutely. And I certainly hope that people understand that the pH play on words does not mean you should have 360 pH. That would be very, very high. But but essentially, a pH of 6.4 in a spit test is not a bad pH, because you actually want it to be more acidic, since spit is the first part of the digestive process, and it should be much more acidic than some of the other factors in your body. Now, your body's pH, which is usually what we refer to as a blood pH, so your body's pH, is not supposed to be 6.4. You'd be dead at that point. It needs to be 7.4 plus or minus a little teeny tiny bit. So anything that goes below 7 or above 7.7 is death. So you don't have a 6.4 pH of the blood. In fact, you can't assess the blood's pH or the body's pH from spit or from urine. They work very differently. So I think it's important. I'm just going to take a moment to talk about what pH means and what its effect is and how we can measure it. So, so pH in the body is always maintained at 7.4 as much as possible, unless you have a severe disease. Your body works really hard at maintaining that. We do not go above or below that. It is very important for our bodies to keep it there. And we do this in 2 main ways. One of them is by the elimination of CO2 through the lungs, and the other one is the kidneys that eliminate the acids through the urine. So I think it's very important also to understand that different parts of our body have different pH levels. The stomach, I think I mentioned this earlier today, the stomach has to have a very acid pH of about 3. And the reason it has that acid pH is to digest the foods through hydrochloric acid. So if we were to have an alkaline pH, let's say a 7.4, we wouldn't be able to digest anything, and we'd have major stomach upsets. It just wouldn't work. So we need to have an acid stomach. When the foods go from the stomach to the intestine, they can't be at that super acidic pH, or we'll have all kinds of ulcers and other issues. So our body immediately neutralizes these digested foods or semi-digested foods through enzymes and digestive liquids, and it increases the pH level once again. So we have a different pH in the intestine than we would in the stomach. Now, when our bodies metabolize foods, the end product is what is scientifically called ash. So you might actually see ash in some of the nutritional values and such. Ash is what is eliminated. And these can either be more acidic or more alkaline. So this is actually the thing that we usually test with a urine test, a urine pH test. We're testing the acidity or the alkalinity of our ash. Just to let you know that measuring the pH of the urine is, again, not an estimate of the blood pH. That would make no sense, because the urine pH is a way to measure the net value of your diet, so how much acid forming or alkaline forming foods you've been having, whereas the blood pH must be done through the blood itself. It's a different entity, and again, it needs to stay pretty much around the 7.4 level. So yeah, I think when we look at pH 360 and saying, are you more naturally alkaline, we're talking about your body being able to benefit from some acid forming foods that are already considered in your diet. So you don't have to do anything special. Those recommendations and the smileys are already doing everything for you. But when the body's digestive system or the urine are too alkaline, it can lead to fungal infections, indigestion, bloating, and has other issues that you can end up encountering. These are detected and considered in the dietary recommendations. So essentially, a kind of a roundabout way of saying that your body, which has a natural tendency to be much more alkaline, will probably be more prone to fungal infections and digestion, bloating, and some of these other issues related to an alkaline digestive system. Whereas an acid system, with one that is too acid, could be more prone to autoimmune diseases, arthritis, tendinitis, and issues that are much more related to acidity levels. Nonetheless, you're not going to be able to test your body's pH level through spit or urine. They are very different entities, and I just think that's very important to understand, as people do get confused a little bit about the acid and alkaline levels.
Danielle, that's absolutely amazingly fantastic explanation. So I hope that really clears up everything for everybody on that. A lot of detail just going into that for everybody, and really does just, it does highlight the fact that even just in our own bodies, so many different parts of our bodies are different in how we act. It's so many different little mini ecosystems that exist and all interrelate and are interconnected in our own bodies, let alone trying to understand a generic concept for everything else. And the fact that even the pH in our own spit in our mouth does change regularly depending on what we've done, just eaten foods, we just brushed our teeth, and all these sorts of things can have an influence on it. There's just so much of a dynamic balance. So thank you, Daniela. That was absolutely phenomenal, and that I'm sure has answered Kathy's questions and probably everybody else's about alkalinity and pH. We are referring to the body. Last question, or two questions to go here for Kathy. We're just going to, thanks for sticking in, guys. Hopefully this is enough interesting information and powerful information that's going to, you guys are happy to hang around for an extra 5 or 10 minutes, because we are, so hopefully you are too. The question here, I have some physical issues with my spine, which means I can't do much of the exercise you prescribe for me. Is there somewhere I can add this? Let me actually just jump into your exercise section here, Kathy. And I'll just quickly talk you through this. So for starters, obviously you're not going to be doing a lot of heavy strength exercises at this particular point in time, but the sections that you have at the moment will actually be very, very specific for you. So this section here, for those that haven't seen it, I know we are talking about foods, but just quickly, the intensity that you're looking at doing is going to be pretty low. The skill level, I'm not sure on the skill level, we'll assume it's low and you're going to be doing a shorter session. If you're looking to do some running or walking, this will actually go and filter out some things for you. And just so that we can show you, I'm assuming if we did a high intensity session, it probably won't suggest you can do any running or walking. And here we go. So jogging or running at selected intensity isn't recommended. Try using equipment to focus on, or to find a solution that's better for you, your body's unique needs. So this is actually the power of pH 360. It won't let you go for a run. You're trying to say, even if you come down, I wonder, there may be some levels that will do. If you wanted to even train at a lower intensity here, and you can go ahead and check that out, it's still saying that jogging at that intensity is not good for you. Let's see if it actually does let you do anything at all at a low intensity for running or walking. Okay, so it'll bring up, it'll allow you to go for a walk. It won't actually let you do anything above just a nice, slow, continuous walk at 30 to 40% of your max heart rate. So very, very low. It's a nice light stroll. That's encouraged, or it's okay for you to do. And that's the power of pH 360. It won't let you do things that aren't great for you. So it already intuitively knows that. So without going into depth about all the different sections here, I encourage you guys to have a look and experience with that. But just going into the other areas here that you can look at with your fitness plan, and actually go through some things here. It'll talk about areas. So here we go, stretching the back. I may benefit from including stretches at the beginning of end of a session to acquire the right amount of elasticity along your spinal column. It may be important for you to pay attention to alignment in my spinal column so that proper training can be implemented. This may be especially useful when spinal pains are due to muscular weakness or muscular contraction. In the presence of hernias or disc protrusions, it may be useful to implement activity with extreme caution and only after medical advice has been sought. This really does summarize a lot of the things for you. It gives you a lot of tips. You want to make sure that you're touching base with the health professional if you're ongoing, depending on where you're at. And that's a really important part of your system that you need to actually take into account. Even under the mind over matter section here, it actually says I may benefit from connecting with my body through a meaningful discipline like yoga, Tai Chi, and all exercises allow me to focus, stretch, and connect with my sense of spirituality. So even here, you'll see in your profile, it's actually suggesting for you that the exercise in a very slow, easy sort of manner, slow movements, things that can encourage your body to be in a better state, and some connection as well for you is really important. So you can see the power behind the exercise section, but I just want to very quickly show you about your actual question that you asked. If I can't do exercises that are there for me, you can log in and say, I want to fix an incorrect entry. And there'll be a section that goes through lifestyle for you. There's a section here that says, are there exercises you cannot perform due to physical injury or limitation? So this is where you can actually list the exercises that aren't good for you. Again, we encourage you to do that with your medical professional, but you can add some things in here, like the squat I think was there. You can type in squat and you can add that to your exclusions, and it will go through and actually exclude squats. This is something you can list in as many different exercises here that you shouldn't be doing. You can talk to your health professional or your personal trainer about the exercises you shouldn't be doing, and you can actually go ahead and enter those in here, and it'll automatically exclude those out of the section that you saw before when you went to the fitness section. And if I just go to dashboard, that gets me out of there. It'll actually exclude the things that showed up in your fitness section. I won't go too much into the exercise section because we are focused on foods today. There's just, unless this was a 400 series webinar, we better keep on moving. And I really hope, Kathy, that's just helped answer your question there on some of the exercises too. So we're going to jump over to another profile here. We've got Carrie Walker. There's actually a last question I might get you to talk about while I'm grabbing Carrie's details. It was actually about osteoporosis for Kathy, her actual status for osteoporosis. Is there foods prescribed accordingly for that? She's assuming that we know about that. So could you just talk us through just quickly if in Kathy's profile, how that may calculate or predict, and how that may work for her just while I'm logging to Carrie's?
Absolutely. So I'm going to just take a look at this in the background here. All right. Without you necessarily mentioning anything, such as a specific diagnosis of osteoporosis, PH360 has determined that you have a risk factor of low bone mineral density of 54%. So it has adjusted certain things accordingly, such as the exercises and the diet. In the diet, for instance, it has promoted certain foods that are going to be high in calcium and help you absorb calcium better, and also promote collagen in your system. So it has already done it for you, even if you didn't know that.
Excellent. So we're into Carrie Walker's profile. Let me just see some questions here from Carrie. Carrie asks, I seem to be eating low calories in my program. Is the weight just going to come back and more once I start eating more? Danielle, would you just be able to help answer that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that happens with eating a low-calorie diet, although I'm not even sure that she necessarily has a low-calorie diet, we can take a look at her diet as you're logging in. It is that we are trying to cleanse the body, if that is the case. So I'm seeing, lots of vegetables, but can we take a look at the grains and the meats and the nuts? Okay, we still have some grains that are available. Can we take a look at the meats? We have lots of proteins available. There's nothing too restrictive there. Lots of variety, some nuts. We have a few nuts and seeds, not too many, I understand. I want to take a look and see if that's related to fat and digestive system. And how about dairy? Okay, and we've practically eliminated dairy completely. That's very interesting. Okay, so I'm going to say that it's not necessarily a low-calorie diet, but generally what we're trying to do is increase your metabolism. Your weight does not necessarily come back just because you start eating again. We're always going to make sure you're eating the right foods. So that is an important thing to consider.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Thanks, Daniela. And I'm going to be really rude and keep moving here because I just want to get through a few more people. So, Carrie, hopefully that helps with your question there. And again, just coming back to the calories, it's not about the calories. You see, we don't focus on calories. We focus on nutrients. We focus on vitamins and minerals that you need in your body. It's not a calorie-focused program. In fact, that's one of the things that will be shifting over the next 5 to 10 years is moving the focus away from calories because there's so many differences in the calories that actually exist. Getting calories from great foods and healthy foods versus junk foods, it's still the same amount of calories. So you can get a lot of calories quite easily. It's not about the calories. It's actually about the quality of the nutrients and the minerals and the phytonutrients that you're getting. That's really important here, and that's what PH360 focuses on. So I'm just going to keep on moving. We've got another from Corey Willis here. So I'm just going to quickly log in and grab Corey's details, if that's okay. Just give me one more minute, please. Thanks for your patience, guys, who are listening in, and thanks so much for sticking around a little bit over time. I know we have run over time, but we're hoping it's the last
webinar. It's worth it.
It's the final webinar, and we are doing this for you. So hopefully you guys have some time to stick around, or at least dial back in at a later stage if need be. So, Corey, I'm just going to go ahead and skip past. Okay, so we're into Corey. A couple of questions from Corey. On my first day, I ate arugula, tomatoes, pepperoni cheese with garlic, lemon, cumin, olive oil dressing, all from my Somalis, and I experienced diarrhea an hour later. For about 3 days, my digestive system was out of whack with any fruit or raw veg I would eat. I am afraid to have arugula again since it was the only new thing to my diet. Danielle, would you be able to just maybe give us a comment there for Corey from what you see in your end and what may be going on there?
Take a look at the preps in the foods. The first thing that comes to mind is arugula is warm, it's pungent, it's very alkaline, it's a great antioxidant that stimulates the digestive function and it promotes the body's detox process. So unless you're allergic, I don't see there's any reason to have an acute reaction to arugula. I'm looking at the prep right now, and I'm seeing that cold foods and raw foods are low on the diet, whereas cooked foods are much higher. So perhaps it would be related to the fact that we're talking about raw vegetables and fruits and salads and things that are like that, as opposed to cooked foods. The other thing that I would want to check is if there might be a detox factor. Sorry, I'm just looking. Okay, PH360 has detected significant stomach and gallbladder issues. That's one of the reasons why cooked vegetables and foods in general are recommended over raw ones. I bet you anything dairy products are going to be removed. Can we take a look at dairy products for a second?
Sure. So yeah, very low.
Yeah, I have a feeling that the pecorino could have been more of an issue than the arugula. I'm not exactly sure if there's a possible lactose intolerance being considered at this point. Just, it takes a little second for me to be able to get through this. I'm trying to go through everything quickly, but my fingers are not fast enough. And so the only other thing I could think of is a detox transition from the former high protein diet to a low protein diet. That could also be an issue. But I'm pretty sure that if we were to hang in there, it would become okay. And it's certainly not the arugula. I don't think it could be the arugula unless it's dirty arugula causing an indigestion problem, which of course we cannot prevent. But arugula itself is promoting digestive issues and detoxing. And so, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's some other factors in there to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for clarifying that, Daniela. And Corey, hopefully that helps. And I certainly can second that. It seems very unlikely to be the arugula, and could be a number of different things and combinations of the foods that you've had together that could have caused that little upset that you've had, along with a whole host of factors. Do you like the quality of the food? If it was washed, did it have any issues with it? Was there a bug on it? So many different things that could actually cause that, plus other states of health. So I think you're probably going to be pretty safe with arugula, but please get in touch with us if that's not the case, because we'd like to make sure that you're looking after your personal health 100%. That's what this is all about. Thank you, Daniela, for clarifying that, and hopefully that's good for Corey to know that things are good for her. Just quickly, another one for Corey. This does broach into the medical side of things, as we're talking about, which is really great for people to see live on these calls. Pomegranates have previously flared up eczema on the palms of her hands, and the list is as a 5 smiley for her. maybe the eczema will clear once the toxins are cleared, is the question. Can you say, give us a quick comment on pomegranates there for Corey, Danielle?
Okay, let me just, as I'm typing up here, the pomegranates, which are great for their antioxidant effect, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory effects, with quercetin flavonoids, actually all of that, in addition to the vitamin E and vitamin A it has, would be great for the skin and would actually help eczema. So I don't think the consumption of pomegranate specifically would have caused any eczema flare-ups. I'm pretty sure if there was something related to pomegranate itself, unless it was something else. But if it is pomegranate, perhaps it's just the acidic juice touching the skin. Sometimes, I mean, eating the food is what we're looking at when we're looking at this nutritional recommendations right now. So we're really looking at the way it goes once it's in your mouth. We're not always addressing what happens when you're touching it. Pomegranate is slightly acidic and pungent, and so it could be reacting on the actual skin of the hand. So maybe it would be worth assessing the effect of pomegranate without actually touching the skin and seeing if that makes a difference. Because I don't see any reason for pomegranate seeds being consumed or pomegranate juice being consumed causing anything related to eczema right now.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Daniella, and hopefully that helps, Corey. And again, just for everybody listening, please bear in mind that there's so many other factors that could be considered here. If pomegranate is something that's a guaranteed allergy for you, then you should put it in your allergy section so it can be excluded for you. If that's been tested and that's actually you've had a bad physical reaction, but be aware of the fact that there is bacterials, other sources of bugs around fruits and vegetables. Depends on the process it's been gone through, depends on where it's been farmed from, how it's brought to you. There's a lot of pesticides and herbicides that can cause reactions, and a lot of other substances and chemicals on foods that can cause reactions rather than the actual food, such as pomegranate itself. So if you're eating a purely organic source that you can guarantee its cleanliness and its nutritional value, and you're having a severe allergic reaction to something, then that is something that needs to be in your allergy section. So just be aware that it may sometimes not be the food itself, but maybe the way that the food has been brought to your plate that may be something that you do react to sometimes, and is the reason for a lot of the allergies that exist at the moment. So thank you, Daniella. Now, last question here quickly from Corey. Is it safe to guess that 5-star frowny faces will never, ever make it to my list of good foods, and that the single frowny ones will be the first to transition over to my green happy ones? Great question.
Yeah, it is a great question. It makes me feel sometimes bad when I see some of those 5 frowny foods as the favorite foods to eat. You can't have them. But yes, there is a general assumption that you can make that the 1 frownies are the most likely ones to rise to the smileys, since they're quite close to that 0 mark and they just need a few plus points, whereas the 5 frownies have a longer way to go. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you will never be able to eat those 5 brownies ever again. It really just depends on the food itself, the condition you're in, both internally and externally. So don't get your hopes down on some of those 5 brownies you might see. Depending on what they are, you might be able to see them again, but they do have a longer way to go than the 1 brownies.
Okay, thank you, Daniella. That's a great clarification, and everybody is always wanting to know the answer to that question. Now, last one here for today that we'll do from Susan Ackerstrom. She asks, I have big problems with my digestion. That is a lot of my foods like blueberries, peas, mushrooms, carrots, pineapples, apples, nuts, and many other foods. They're simply not being processed in my stomach, and things like oats and grapes cause me to get hungry after 2 hours, and it makes this very difficult to know how to address this issue. This is, again, a common sort of thing. A great question, Susan. Thanks so much, and looking forward to be able to answer this for you right now. There's a lot of people in similar sorts of situations. And Danielle, would you just be able to help us navigate through this one?
What I'm seeing is that the fact that she's had some stomach problems has actually been detected by pH360. There is a 51% of stomach issues as a risk factor being calculated right there. So we are aware of some of those stomach issues, and that has been addressed in various ways. I think what's related to hunger with grapes or oats could actually drop some blood sugar, because there's also a risk for diabetes. So if you didn't mention, I'm not seeing any mention of diabetes or pre-diabetes right now, but I think it is important to consider your health risks right now, because you are leading towards that risk. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this in a public forum. I'm really sorry. But this is what I get to see in the back end is we're looking at the current and future risks. And I do think that it is important to consider some of these factors of health. Um, so if I was to look, cold foods and raw foods are actually one smiley in your profile right now. Cooked foods have been suggested because of those digestive issues that I've mentioned, and that probably experienced some of those digestive issues that you've been experiencing. Mm, yes, I'm also seeing raw foods, which are high in carbs, such as peas, carrots, and apples. They can cause excess gas in the stomach, especially if it remains undigested and interacts with bacteria. So, stomach discomfort that you might be experiencing could be related to gas. Enzymes reduce this gas and can be found in foods that are natural in enzymes like papaya, pineapple, garlic, and ginger. So if you look at your food list, you will see some of those foods there for you. I would also recommend paying attention to the fact that mixed foods have three frownies for you. So that is related to also your digestive issues, which have been considered. Try eating proteins before your vegetables because protein needs to be digested with hydrochloric acid for it to digest properly. And the starches need digestive enzymes called ptyalins. So it's different. Um, I think if you were to try and eating food separately, you might be doing your body a lot of favors. If you're still experiencing problems and bloating and gas and indigestion, try some of the spices like ginger and aniseed and cumin and rosemary and cayenne. Possibly even some apple cider vinegar that is in warm water, just a little bit, like a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in some warm water after a meal. No, I'm not a genius. I'm looking at her diet, and those are all the 5 smileys that are on the list. These are all high um, herbs that are high in digestive enzymes or promoting gastric juices or facilitating the digestive process. So it's all been considered for her. I think if she were to follow the pH 360 diet the way it's being recommended, she would actually not have some of these digestive problems that she's experiencing, or at least allow her body to get used to them. If you are really hungry, try some root vegetables like potatoes. I'm seeing that those are relatively high on your list. They might make you feel satiated longer. You can even have them at breakfast to kind of get you going through the day. So I hope that helps with this profile. I hope that kind of facilitates that clarity about what's happening with the digestive system. But pH 360 has considered quite a lot of those things, and if it's being followed properly, it should actually be addressed well.
Absolutely. Well, that does give a lot of insight, and thanks again so much for all your amazing insight there, Daniella, and thanks, Susan, for the great questions. Hopefully that helps clarify all the things you're after. There's some links that you guys will see about personal health coaching that comes up, and the reason why we have this is there's so many personal health and medical questions that come up, and as you can see, a lot of the profiles we go into today are very much medical issues, whether it's aches and pains, whether it's responses to foods or other things that may exist. These are medical questions, and you need to have someone who is a qualified professional to be able to answer those questions. And so, unfortunately, we're not able to answer all your specific individual questions on Facebook page, which is, it's there for inspiring and for motivating and encouraging and for support. We're just not able to answer all your individual questions. And so we have the service available that's the coaching for exactly that same reason. And so you can go ahead to understand more about the reasoning behind why your foods are listed, how it interacts with your body. We have experts that are available, like Daniella, to actually answer your questions specifically. So you can go ahead and engage a personal health coach to find out a lot more about your situation as you need to. I just want to really quickly show you here. This is a new page that's just been created that's called Resources. It's our resources page. And you'll see there's a link, ph360.me/resources. And you can actually go ahead and check out a lot of these things that are now going to be available for you. We've got a section here on your food, so Foods Explained, and this is really going to be where you can see a lot of the webinars, a lot of other details are coming out about why and understanding the pH 360 insights. We have an area with integrating pH 360 that really gives you a lot of helpful hints and tips how to integrate this into your lifestyle and change your life. And again, we've focused so heavily on foods for this 4-part series, but there's so much more to pH 360. In fact, it's almost a shame to be able to talk so specifically about the science behind foods, because it misses everything that pH360 is about. And we're doing this for you because you're asking so many questions about why does this show up? Why can't I eat this? Why can't I eat that? But really, we're distracting from the message we're trying to show here. And the message really is that you need to consider all the things in your life that contribute towards your health. Food is just one of them. We've got a section here for hangouts. These are like hangouts with Jules and other areas, other hangouts that we're going to be doing with interviews with experts, where you can come and learn out a lot more about the resources and the science and medicine behind pH360. Of course, the coaching section, as we spoke about there on the right-hand side. So this page is up and running. I think there's some updates being made to it for the rest of today, but you'll be able to go ahead and use that as a resource for a lot of your learning and understanding more and more about pH360. And of course, the hangouts with Jules that we're wanting to really encourage you guys to be a part of, because it is such an amazing thing that can help walk you through from really start to finish. It really is the hand-holding that a lot of people are looking for, and those that have been on the first series with Jules I'm sure can attest to that. So guys, I just wanted to probably wrap things up here. It has been a 2-hour webinar. You guys are absolutely amazing for hanging in there live, or if you're watching the replays. I hope you've made it through and really just understanding so much more about pH360, this 4-part series about understanding the why behind our foods in pH360 is just such an important thing for so many people in their minds, just to keep their minds happy. But again, this is about epigenetics. This is about all the things outside of your genes that influence who you are, that influence your health and influence your future. And I really encourage you to review all sections of your profile and incorporate a lot of the learnings and a lot of the insights to make sure that you can be happy and healthy, because that's what this is all about. You actually see under the coaching tab on the resources page that there's going to be, we have events coming up actually for the public to be able to learn. And we have a weekend course that's available, in fact, coming up in mid-July in Los Angeles for those that are interested. It's going to be a phenomenal course where you can learn everything about pH360 that you're interested in learning, and it's going to be really, really fun. So again, look at the coaching section there on the _resources page. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel for videos and tutorials that are constantly being updated with tons of information. There's the resources page that's up now. Our Facebook group for support and inspiration, future webinars, hangouts. There's so much more that's really there for you to learn so much more about pH360 and really become part of our community, so that you can share this with your loved ones and with those that need this the most. We're so blessed to have so many amazing talented souls like Daniella working with us on pH360. We are always looking for super passionate people that are interested in what we're doing and inspired by personalized health to join our ever-growing community. So if you feel like you need to be involved in our mission and really want to be on board helping us promote what we're doing in any capacity, then please reach out to support@ph360.me and let us know more about you, and love to have a conversation with you about that. Just a huge thank you to all the pH360 team. You guys are all just amazing for making this a reality. And finally, the most important, a huge thank you to you, to the listeners, giving up your time to listen in about how we can help you improve your health. You guys are absolutely, truly amazing. So please help us with our mission to share this with everybody, because we can't achieve a planet that's free from pain and disease without your help. So we're so very grateful to you guys. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for joining us. And we really look forward to supporting you on your personal health journey so that you can support others on theirs. So thanks again, Daniella, for joining us.